Welcome to the IGH Going Rogue. Today is Friday, March the 14th. It is Law Enforcement Fridays. So, like we usually do, we have law enforcement folks. Today we have our good friend Robert Arce joining us. Excuse me. It is going to be a barn burner today, Robert. There's all kinds of shit happening. I'm going to kick it off really fast because something that the president has talked about enacting, which is the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. And that is something special because I was talking to some ICE people yesterday, and they were saying it's a big deal. It's very important because right now when you go capture people, and you know this, you got to go sit there and put them through the courts, put them through the DOJ in order to get them deported. It takes time. You got to go store them somewhere and spend more money. With this thing, you can just grab them and throw them over the fence and kick them out, right? So I know you have some experience as well with dealing with deportees and pulling green cards, because that seems to be a big deal. Everybody going after Marco Rubio because of that Hamas guy in Columbia University, even though he wasn't a green card holder. He was here on a student visa. What people don't understand is the only thing a visa gives you is, okay, you can come into the country legally, but it doesn't give you rights like a citizen. And he said that and talked about that. And he goes, even green card holders we can revoke. And, why don't we go into some of these cases? I know you got a bunch of examples and you've talked about it. David, why don't you pull up that list of reasons how you can lose your green card? And then we'll let Robert kind of roll. Here you go. So it says green cards can be revoked, right? It's not that common, but it's also rare. People lose their green cards most often when they're convicted of crimes. And he's going to talk about that. The green card is not a citizenship. It's seen as a privilege that you earn, but you can also lose it if you engage in conduct that is contrary to the conditions that green card holders live under, right? And you go into the how, revoking green cards. What are the reasons? Is there a list of reasons there, David? Let's scroll down.
Yes. You got your examples of crimes that can cause green card holders to lose their status.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so there it is. It was highlighted. I'm sorry. So there it is. Crimes that can cause a green card holder to lose their status include aggravated felonies, drug offenses, fraud, or national security concerns such as ties to terrorist groups. All right, excellent. Thank you. Robert, you're back. Tell us about this. I know you have a lot of experience with your former employment. You probably dealt with this all the time, being right there on the border too, man.
Well, one of the things, first of all, thanks for having me on. Always fun being on here, Law Enforcement Friday. I spent 3 years in Mexico.
I know.
And there I dealt with a lot of corrupt politicians, corrupt military, police officials. We had a corrupt official that we knew he was corrupt. But in Mexico, if you had a rule that said you cannot meet with someone that's corrupt, we would never leave the office. We would just sit there. So what we did is we needed a signature from a high-ranking law enforcement official. And I think he was afraid to meet with us. He probably thought we were going to arrest him because he was that corrupt.
Wow.
And he would refuse to meet with us. And finally, we came up with an idea. It was the holidays. Like all these people who hate Americans or hate our country, they hate us as Americans, but they love our country because all of them have visas to come to the States, to go para las compras, to go shopping.
Yeah.
Well, and all their kids go to the most elite universities we have, the Ivy League schools.
Yeah.
So with the holidays, they got to go back to Mexico. And we got tipped off that 2 of the kids of this guy were coming back for the holidays. So we made some phone calls and we got the visas canceled while they were in Mexico and could not go back to school I think one was going to Harvard and the other was going to some other really prestigious school.
Yeah.
So here's this guy that would not take my call, refused to meet with us, is suddenly in a panic because he's paying money for their education.
Yeah.
And their kids can't go back to school. So eventually, he reached out. We had him. He wanted me to go meet him at his office. I said, no, you come here. So he showed up with the security team, and of course, he blamed it on his secretary, un malentendido, misunderstanding. We got the signatures we needed. He designated somebody that we could work with, and we said the same thing. It must have been an accident that they got canceled.
Yeah.
Well, they got reinstituted, and that's how easy it was for us to do it. Now, what are the conditions of we're even looking at green cards, but I mean, you're looking at a student visa.
Yeah, dude, or a tourist visa for that matter, right?
It's an F1. All you got to look at is national security concerns, such as ties to a terrorist group, or threat to national security. This one kid or this guy at Columbia University, he's leading protests in support of groups that are backing Hamas, a terrorist organization.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. The problem the Trump administration is running into is these activist judges hell-bent on doing everything to disrupt the Trump presidency and his policies, and they're throwing roadblocks, so it's going to take time to file an appeal and get a proper ruling on this, because it's just this is how insane the Democrat Party has got. They're on the side, like if we look at the State of the Union, they wouldn't stand for a kid with cancer, they wouldn't stand for all these other people, but yet here they are angry that that someone who has an extreme ideology against our country, and they're fighting for him.
Yeah, it's lunacy, man. I mean, look, I know of cases with that people with tourist visas. They come in, they get usually a stamp for 6 months, and they stay the full 6 months, travel back to their country for a week or a month or a couple weeks, then come back another 6 months, and they've been doing that for years. And eventually the guys at immigration realize that this is they're living here, they're not living abroad. And they sent him back at the airport. They go, no, you know what, dude? We're looking at all these entries. You're saying all these times. He's like, you're not living there. You're living here. If you want to live here, get a green card. Ship them back, and people have been shipped back. And the thing about the visas, the tourist visas, is you can be turned away even when you land. So it's not a guarantee. And what it is, it's saying, okay, you pass the requisites. We don't think you're a threat. We're going to let you in. But if you misbehave, we're allowed to revoke visas and throw them out. So, this situation is different. And I think that's why the president, I don't know if you can pull up the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. That's why the president's going to bring it, reenact it, a law from 1798. I mean, it is amazing what he's going to do. And pretty much what it does is, you can start tossing people out. You don't need to go through the court system. You don't need to go through DOJ and put them in Gitmo for months while they go through trial. You just grab them and throw them out. And everybody should read that, the Alien Enemies Act. You can find it on Wiki. You can find it all over the place. I think NPR has a good explanation of it as well. But you're absolutely right. This should be a no-brainer. And then you have people like Chuck Schumer, which the president said, I don't think Schumer is Jewish anymore. Right? That was pretty funny.
There's another thing we used to use this for, the green card holders. You got a lot of green card holders that, even here in Phoenix, you get these groups. They seem to be a collection of Marxists, regular communists, Islamicists, anarchists that all join forces under the same banner, and they all say we want to destroy the West. We're anti-capitalist. We're anti-colonialist, and they're out to disrupt. They're in our universities. They're protesting in front of the Capitol here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the people with the green card, we experienced this when I was with Phoenix PD. My partner and I would go out. We bought 3 kilos of cocaine off a group of suspects. They go to prison. They were So part of the group were illegal aliens. The other ones were green card. One of the leaders was a green card holder.
Okay.
He goes to prison 6-7 years, gets out. Well, by the time he gets out, I had left the undercover unit. Now I'm doing wiretaps on Mexican drug cartels.
Wow.
So here's a guy that we send to prison who sold us 3 kilos of cocaine to my partner and I.
And that's
Now,
real weight on the street, right? I mean,
Yeah. We were out on the street having to meet them face to face. They had no idea we were cops. Negotiated with them. They're very dangerous cases. And now he's out. And because he was a green card holder, they didn't revoke it. So now we're intercepting him on a wiretap with another organization he's working with.
wow.
So
he's back in business.
Couldn't get enough. He's back in business. Bigger and better. We couldn't get enough. He was just outside of, we couldn't get enough evidence to get him, but what we did, after we rounded everybody up in that organization, we picked him up and they locked him up. They served him a notice for a revocation of green card. I had to go to court, testify 30 days, 45 days later, and his green card was revoked. But he had a defense attorney. They fought us, and we just gave the evidence. The judge ruled in our favor. That was happening. I mean, it wasn't something that happened every day, but it was happening quite a bit because of a lot of these guys would be here for a while that would get here as green card holders, marry an American citizen, working on their citizenship, but they came here with no intention of looking for a regular job. So this was happening, and like I said, it should be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You come to this country and you're violating our laws, you're poisoning our communities. Get them the hell out of here. That's what we should be able to do.
Yeah, that's something else, man. That is something else. And that's a big problem, right? Is it should be automatic. It should be automatic deportation, and it's not. And you were talking about it earlier with these activist judges that, no matter what they want to, no matter what the law is, they don't care. They just want to derail Trump, and they're stepping in the way. And I think that's why he's having to enact this, right?
Yes, it's going to be, and obviously, what will happen. There will be challenges to it. They'll shop for a judge, take it. They'll find somewhere where they can shop for a judge, and he'll rule in their favor. And then we're back to square one, having to do appeal this judgment, which takes time. And like I said, they're just out to disrupt, make it look like there's chaos within his administration, overreaching. And I heard I can't remember who it was that was talking about it. Some pundit, a conservative pundit, was talking where people say it's the MAGA revolution. No, it's the MAGA counter-revolution.
Yeah.
Because we're having to fight back against the overreach from the left during the Obama years, during the Biden years. And it's fighting back against that overreach is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm Mr. Producer, I'm sending you a whole bunch of links here on X on this Alien Enemies Act. I mean, it's all over. Let's see what this idiot says. What's his name? Jon Stewart, maybe?
Right.
I just sent you a video. See if you can put that up. It's the one I just sent. So this is going to really accelerate mass deportations, right, Robert?
Hopefully, like I said, I would anticipate an immediate challenge. They're already talking about it. I did some research last night. I watched some videos, professors that were talking about it. I heard some professors talk against it. Professors talk pro of it, but it's just it's going to have to be. It's going to go to a ruling. But like I said, I think the problem is the left is very good at shopping for a judge, and they'll find a judge, take it to his court, and then they'll get a ruling. If you look at all these judges, it's no accident that they're finding the judges they need initially to rule against the Trump administration.
Yeah, Mr. Producer, let's see this idiot, and then I just sent you a whole bunch of video clips of all these radicals taking over Trump Tower. But go ahead, run this and turn up the volume.
How exactly is that? But okay, day one, mass deportation. How exactly is that going to happen?
I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, the left is going bananas, right? They're like, oh shit, put some of those videos I just sent out. These pro-Hamas domestic terrorists that occupied Trump Tower, dude. We got a bunch of videos up there. Put them on. These people don't learn. I mean, they think that by protesting and using this Black Lives Matter tactic that like they did in Trump 1 is going to work. This guy is not taking shit from anybody. It goes back to fuck around and find out. Trump is fully loaded, bro. Fully loaded and prepared this time around, and he's not going to fucking get used. Go ahead, play that.
We're being told they are now making arrests here. We were bringing this to you live. People have stormed into Trump Tower protesting the arrest of Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University former graduate student, who has riled up so much of the anti-Semitism that we've seen, not just on Columbia, but other campuses as well. There is a big
Yep, next. I mean, there's a bunch there, right? Let's see some of them. I mean, dude, that's crazy, dude. They protest in front and then they take over a fucking building, dude.
Yeah.
A commercial building that just happens to be owned by the president, but has nothing to do with government. I mean,
imagine what would happen if these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine students instead
just roll them on.
We're showing up to the university wearing Ku Klux Klan outfits.
Yeah.
Saying we need blacks out of this school.
Yeah.
How long do you think that would last?
Dude, like 30 seconds, right?
30 seconds. It would
Yeah.
last 30 seconds.
Yeah. But you have these, pro-Hamas guys saying, get rid of the Jews and really being violent and attacking some, right?
Yeah, but the Democrat Party they have their Marxist wing, they have their Hamas, their Hezbollah wing,
Yeah.
and they can't go against them because they're afraid to piss that part of their Hamas wing off, is what they're afraid of. It's crazy.
It's interesting, man, because some people brought this up, and I know some lawyers that are taking a look at this now. Ilham Omar, she's now a U.S. citizen, but she's from Somalia,
Right.
and there's a lot of controversy of, if she how she got her green card and things about marrying her brother and this and that, and now she's a citizen. Can she lose that, right? Because when you take an oath to citizenship, it clearly says, I renounce any allegiance to any sovereign nation, state, king, monarch, whatever. And if people are holding dual nationalities, that should be cause, and apparently it is legal cause, to lose your citizenship. And I know the Trump administration is asking, the Supreme Court for an opinion, on that, and also on the birthright, right? So I think, there's going to be a lot of changes that are happening, during these 4 years. And if, and if we win in 2028 and beyond, it's going to be a very, very different country, a very, very different situation. I think we'll be able to, clean this up. Because if you look at Europe, they've been completely overrun, right? And I mean, Europe is a joke. They're a fucking joke.
My daughter's in Germany right now.
Yeah.
She's been in Germany for 2 years. They were in Paris. Her and my son-in-law, my grandkids, were in Paris, and they're on the lookout for a runaway car with some wild-eyed Islamicists run people over, because that's what they're having over there.
Yeah.
She says every city they went into of decent size, there are pro-Palestinian protests and rallies in every single city they're in. And, you look at what's going on in France, what's going on in Germany,
Yeah.
they're being taken over. They're losing their country without a shot being fired.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, and the other thing is this, right, is like the birth rate in Europe is like 1.2 or something, or 1.4, I can't remember. Meanwhile, the freaking Muslims are having 5, 6, 7 kids, so they're just going to outbreed the Europeans and take over, and and why is that a problem? Because you have countries that have nukes in Europe,
Right.
So that is a problem. That's a huge problem, and I think I don't know if Europe can come back. I know UK is trying, but I don't know if they're really trying, bro. I mean, the reality is this: the United States is going to do it. Trump is going to do it. I think if he puts together what Ronald Reagan called Star Wars, which is like an Iron Dome, we can protect ourselves from whatever happens, and at the same time go decimate, pulverize whatever the hell is going on outside. But it's got to start internally. We have way too many known people on the terrorist list that are already in the country. We have, like Homan said, about 680, 700,000 criminal illegal aliens. That's a lot of people. And what was the number? The number that, we've heard from the administration that they've been able to get out since January 20th to now.
I think I saw a number, 35,000, 40,000.
Yes, correct. I've heard somewhere around there too, about 35,000 plus, right?
Well, that point, we were talking off air. Through my contacts, and when I worked in Mexico, I got government contacts that worked for me, now work for other agencies of ours down in Mexico, and they would monitor. One of them was monitoring the migrant camps or shelters in Mexico, which were full.
So talk to us about that. What does that mean? Educate the public a little bit. What does a migrant shelter mean? Who organizes? How does it work? Who's funding it? What are the steps and all that? Walk us through, because because in TV, when you hear somebody, or when you go on TV on Fox or wherever and you do a hit, you get 3.5 minutes. So you just go boom, 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 and you're done. But what does that mean? Walk us through, break it down. Give us the details, because nobody really understands, right? The regular folks have no fucking clue what that means. They just think it's, I don't know, fucking Disney World or tents, or nobody knows, right? So educate us, please, if you don't mind.
What's going on is, say a lot of these migrants are coming, say the ones that are coming from Latin America.
Yep.
They're coming from Venezuela. They're coming from Colombia. Yep. As they travel through South America into Central America, what's happening is before they leave, especially it was happening quite a bit in Central America, American NGOs were showing up in centers in El Salvador, in Honduras, in Guatemala, Nicaragua. They were showing up and setting up like an office.
No
I
shit.
remember when it was explained.
Are you
to me,
fucking serious? Are you fucking serious?
They were telling me like it would sound like it was a travel office.
Oh my
but they
God.
were some name of some group, and there were NGOs, Americans, some Europeans, but primarily Americans. And what they would do, they'd say, okay, on Sunday, everybody meet at the plaza. You've been to Latin America.
Yeah.
Every city has a plaza with a church right there and a big plaza.
Yeah.
We're going to meet here, and we're going to depart to the north.
And how do they do that? How do they leave? And I suspect all these NGOs were the scams that were being funded by USAID too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what was happening, they show up to the plaza, to the park, and then they have some type of transportation, flatbeds, buses, but for TV purposes, they always the media catches these groups, these mobs, the caravans, walking out of the city.
Yeah.
Here they go walking. As soon as they get out of the city, they when the cameras are off, they jump into flatbeds. They get on buses with police escorts from the countries.
Really?
And here they come. They'll come driving through. So then they'll drive for a certain amount of hours, stop. Those NGOs have nurses, RNs. They got medicine. And they'll stop at a location, and food magically appears. Like a food kitchen shows up. Everyone's getting fed. If someone's sick, they're giving them medicine. There's nurses from these NGOs that are treating people. Now,
Robert, that's fucking crazy, dude. So we're funding our own invasion.
We're funding our own invasion. That's what we're doing.
My God, bro.
Yes, and I told you that when the first big caravan started, I think it was in 2017, 2018.
Yeah, remember that big one, like 20,000 strong?
I was writing for Breitbart News at the time. So when that happened and one of those caravans showed up to Tijuana, I drove from Phoenix to Chula Vista, San Isidro, crossed, jumped in a cab, went straight to the migrant camp there.
No shit.
And there was probably at that migrant camp 7,000, 8,000 people.
Wow.
And it looked like it was a fairgrounds. It was like a state fairgrounds or something like that. And it was tent city. And I'm walking around out there, and the main complaint, as I'm talking to people, they're saying all through our journey from Central America till we got here, there were Americans that were helping us. They were giving us advice. There was nurses. We were getting fed all through Mexico once we crossed into Mexico. And once we got to Tijuana, they disappeared. We don't know where they went. But what they were doing, they were putting there as a staging area. And at that time, they were just rushing the border, requesting asylum, claiming that they wanted asylum. Trump at the time instituted the stay in Mexico policy, and it discouraged people from showing up. It slowed down that flow. Once Biden came in, we all know that the people requesting asylum, of real people that qualify for asylum, it's probably 5%,
at max.
Maybe a little higher, 8%, 5%. All the rest of these migrants that are showing up are economic migrants.
Yeah.
The asylum laws do not apply to economic migrants. It's sad, but we can't take the whole world in.
Yeah, we can.
But
let me go back to this, Robert, is, so U.S. taxpayers are funding an organization, or used to fund an organization called USAID. Thank God it got disbanded, and 90-something% of people got fired. 97%, I think, is the number. So that shit show's over. But the American taxpayer was funding its own invasion. Think about that for a minute, dude. That's fucking fucked up as shit. So we're funding these organizations to set up camps, feed these people, transport them all the way to the border, hand them off, and tell them, once you get there, tell them you're seeking asylum, and they have to take you.
Right. But what was happening, the coyotes were picking people off from those caravans. I could get you there faster. So the coyotes were either picking them off voluntarily or just snatching them.
No shit.
And then bringing them across, putting women to work, through prostitution services, convincing males, hey, we need well-able bodies to help out with our drug activities. And, a lot of these people showing up, they're already criminals when they're leaving their country, so they figure they could make money.
Yeah.
They could make money, and they'll start working for the cartels. So all through this journey, the cartels, human smuggling organizations who have to pay a tax to the drug cartel that controls that smuggling route are making tons of money, because they're not gonna allow you to come through without paying money.
Yeah.
You got to pay money, because these drug cartels, once you get in Mexico, Mexican organized crime uses a lot of manpower. They lose people fighting and defending those drug routes.
Yep.
So it's a war. Here's another it's a sad story with USAID.
Yeah.
When I was in Mexico, I was part of a team that I worked closely with the DEA, the U.S. Marshal's Office, FBI, all the alphabet soup of law enforcement. There was a cartel plaza boss, extremely violent, making threats against our consulate that they were going to snatch somebody from our consulate.
Holy shit.
So we had to apply the heat to try and track him down. Through sources, the Mexican Navy, La Marina, acted on a tip provided by the U.S. Marshals and DEA, and they got in a run and gun battle with this plaza boss's sicarios. And the Plaza boss got away. 2 of the Navy guys get wounded. They kill 2 or 3 cartel gunmen. Well, unbeknownst to us, USAID was working with some human rights group there in Mexico that was connected to one of the drug cartels in that area. The drug cartels pay people to go in front of the camera and accuse the military, the police of human rights violations and protest to make these guys kind of heroes or something. Well, one of the big protests they had, we found out USAID people were connected to the same group paid by the drug cartels to protest against a Marina that was acting at the direction of our government. So here we are, US government is providing intel to the Mexican Navy to go out and capture this guy, and yet this so-called human rights group was protesting the actions that were actually U.S. actions. So it was the drug cartels in the border cities also pay news organizations to write bad stories, negative press, to try and cause heat on the Mexican Navy, the Mexican law enforcement, to make them back off of these cartel bosses. They use a PR campaign to push back against any enforcement against them, and they use these sob story people to go on camera. It's kind of like those stories you get from from Gaza, where the same person seems to be getting their house blown up, and they use the same person, and they got these staged bodies with no dust on them after a buildings have been leveled. It's kind of a similar thing. But U.S. aid was working in that instance. They were working with human rights and dirty journalists that were part of a PR campaign for a cartel against us.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And, it's good riddance, man. But that was probably one of the most corrupt and worst, organizations out there. And we gotta wait to see what happens once it's all uncovered. But the amount of corruption that was going on all over the place. I mean, in Africa alone, who knows what the fuck was going on? But just reading $50 million for fucking condoms, to Mozambique. It's got a. My question on the condoms. Yeah.
If it's so important to give condoms to a foreign country to stop the spread of AIDS, in California, you could have AIDS and knowingly pass it on to someone, have sex with someone, and I think it's a misdemeanor now.
Holy
they downgraded
shit.
It used to be a felony. You could go to prison if you had AIDS and knowingly had sex with another dude and gave it to him. It was a felony. They downgraded it now. So it must not be that big of a problem if they downgraded it to a misdemeanor in California.
It's it was all a grift, man. It was all a fucking scam. It was probably one of the biggest rackets, in like Trump said, one of the biggest rackets in the history of the world.
Positive news on the migrant situation, though. I forgot to finish with those migrant camps in major cities throughout Mexico. There's social organizations, or there's organizations that are there to help the community. So if you're down and out, those organizations throughout Mexico are supposed to be helping their citizens that need help. But what they're having to do, just like us, they're having to help migrants that are coming through their cities and need help with food or whatever. So the Mexican government is not happy because they're having to use a lot of that money. During the Biden administration, my contacts were telling me the migrant camps throughout northern Mexico were filled. Absolutely filled, and they were acting as staging areas with American NGOs in those migrant camps, ready to move the next wave right up to the border, where then they were then crossing into the U.S. and then they disappear. As of right now, earlier in the week, it was Monday, I talked to one of my contacts. Those centers are empty.
Wow.
And they're actually having migrants heading back who are self-deporting. and now they're stopping at those centers, but they're heading back to their home country.
Dude, that's awesome. That's great news.
Yeah, it's great news.
That's great news. That's great news. And, some people were kind of mocking the president when he said, we're going to see a lot of self-deportations. And people thought he was being, stupid or an idiot or, Trump isn't ignorant. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You just confirmed that they're self-deporting.
They're self-deporting, and people in their home country will realize that the lotto ended for them to cross and get paroled into the country for a court date 3 or 4 or 5 years later. They're not going to take that trip to the border, so that's why the numbers have just screeched to a halt.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it's down like 99% or something, right?
Yeah, the smugglers will figure something else out. They'll start passing them through Canada from maybe someplace in Central America, putting them on planes, but those are special people that have the money.
Yeah.
Most people don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
But for other people, they will still figure out a way to fly them in somehow if they have to go around or come in through come in on boats, these little boats through either Florida or over here by Tijuana, just try to come across.
So they're coming through TJ still, right?
Yeah, so they could get on one of these little speed boats and shoot around, but you can only move so many people that way.
Yeah.
It's not the mass stampede that they had. They also talk about the tunnels. Now, my sources in Mexico tell me they only like using the tunnels for human smuggling for more of your special interest, high value target, because if you're just moving anybody through there, if that person gets caught, they could always talk about this tunnel and they lose a lot of money if that tunnel gets closed down. Now, I'm told that when they pass the regular people, they cover their faces, they get them out of the other side so that they can't see where that tunnel was. But they don't like using the tunnels as much for the human smuggling because they're afraid that a regular migrant going through that tunnel will give it up and then they lose all that money they invested in that tunnel.
Yeah.
They only like using it for high value targets that are paying big money to bring them through there.
I would imagine a lot of the tunnels are probably used to move soldiers around, right? Cartel soldiers, right?
Yeah, the cartel, what we used to have even when I was working, if a cartel hitman or somebody they were going to set up in some city, say they needed somebody in Chicago or they needed somebody in Minneapolis, this is a guy that probably has been deported before, or he's a wanted criminal. They would pay smugglers to come across through the desert where they have the hilltop scouts on top of the hills with binoculars looking at Border Patrol, and when they see Border Patrol move away, or they could send a decoy group to get taken off, then they bring in these high value targets who are important to them, bring them through, get them in a truck, and then get them to the city to the point where they have to be. But that's what they will use for those.
Wow.
Like your hitmen.
That's it's amazing hearing it no matter how many times and you know about it, but the issue is that so many people don't really know the details, don't understand it. They just hear bits and pieces and they create a lot of, they fill the holes themselves.
Right.
But hearing it, from somebody like you, I think is important that happens because people understand how organized, how well executed, how well funded, how well prepared these groups and organizations are and how this really works, right? I was going to ask you something. Is, obviously you've dealt with law enforcement a long time, continue to do so. You've played with a lot of the three-letter agencies as well. And we talked about visas, just to kind of circle back on that. Did you see a lot of people on tourist visas committing crimes?
On tourist visas?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we had a lot of people with tourist visas even during my career.
Yeah.
Were involved in the drug trade.
Yeah.
They come here, they overstay their visa.
Yep.
And then they stay here. Can't say they're involved, but I think most people that show up in a tourist visa a lot of them are going to overstay. We know that. They're going to overstay. Let me give you an example of what happened. I spent 3 of my years in the Balkans. I was the after I retired, I was the organized crime advisor, Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia for 3 years.
Yep.
One of my assistants in 2008, I brought him to Phoenix for Thanksgiving to have dinner with my family. We got him a visa just to come over, hang out with me. He had never been in an airplane. He was a Serb. So he came over, fell in love with the U.S. and said from 2008, one day I'm going to get a green card. And finally he got serious about it in about 2014. He started working on trying to get a green card. He got they have a lottery system over there, and he finally got through. 2 weeks ago, he arrived from Serbia with his green card after hundreds or thousands of dollars paid. He did it the legal way. He came to the U.S. twice with a visa, but he did overstay because he wanted to be here one day legally without ever having to look over his shoulder. And 2 weeks ago, he arrived. I think he's in Alabama right now. Wow. He has a job. He has a master's degree. He speaks English fluently. So it's not like he's going to be a burden on our system. And there is legal ways to do this. But he was getting angry because he said, I've been paid so much money to make this right. And I'm watching the news there of people showing up and getting paroled into the country and getting free apartments, free EBT or getting EBT and everything else. And he says, and I've been waiting in line the right way. I should have done what they did, but he said that jokingly.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Yeah, I think this whole visa thing is going to be very interesting to see. I know they're probably not giving new visas out, so they're going to control who comes in because, like you said, there's a high number of visa overstays, right? People say, oh, dude, there's so many illegals and all this, But what's not talked about a lot is the visa overstays. There's a lot of illegals that didn't just trek across the border that actually overstayed their visa and never left. And, I guess maybe it's not talked about that much because of two things, right? And I've explained this before, is in order to get a tourist visa, you have to present yourself to the U.S. Embassy in your country. You got to show that you have a job, that you make income, that you have ties to your country, right? You have a job, you have money in the bank, you have, properties, or you own your home, you have, certain level of education, et cetera, et cetera. So, if you do end up overstaying, we know that at least you'll be able to get a job and sustain yourself, right? The problem with these people crossing the border is they can barely speak their own language, let alone they can't, read or write. Most of them are illiterate and don't have really any more skills than to do really low end, wage work. And, that's a big burden on our system, right? Because those people are probably going to be, like you said, using EBTs, food stamps, whatever, housing vouchers, seeking all that assistance, which theoretically they shouldn't qualify for. And the left keeps on saying that they don't get, but it's been proven for facts that they all suck the system, right?
I have them with my own family. I have family members that show up illegally, or they show up with visas, overstay.
Yeah.
It's kind of a sore spot in my family.
Yeah. And
they're getting Section 8. They're getting EBT. They're having their kids here, the whole bit.
Yeah.
It's something that, it's like claiming that illegals would never vote in our elections.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, we arrest illegals for murder, rape, drug dealing, human kidnapping, and everything else, but they draw the line at illegally voting. So Come on, give me a break.
Yeah,
I've had them vote illegally in my own family.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Hold that thought. We got to go. We got to go to commercial break real quick, and we'll be right back with Robert Arce.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard My Pillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, we're back. And don't forget, for everybody that's listening and not watching, the promo code is IGH. Promo code is IGH. Get 80% discount from Mike Lindell. And like you said, you spend over $100, you're going to get 2 free pillows, man. So, you know, I love those products. We love them at home. I always say it's my favorite is a mattress topper, man. It's like sleeping on clouds. It's amazing. But anyways, Robert, hopefully you had a good night's sleep with your MyPillow products as well. And you're nice and refreshed for Law Enforcement Fridays. Always bringing it. Mr. Producer, we saw some videos here about Pam Bondi, our AG, talking about suing sanctuary cities. And I want you to talk about sanctuary cities, Robert. I know you've had quite an experience with that. All right, let's run it. Make sure his mic is not on mute as well. And let's go.
Where is the accountability for some of these sanctuary cities that are working against you?
Yeah, well, you're seeing what's happening. We're suing them. We're suing the states. They will no longer be sanctuary cities. We will come in there. We will arrest you. We will prosecute you. We will deport you. If you've committed a crime, you will go to prison in our country for as long as possible. If you're an illegal alien, we will deport you. It's that simple. That's what's been happening. Our federal government is working great now. You know, these liberal mayors, governors, we're not going to put up with it. I've warned them. If they're not listening, they will continue. We will continue to sue them. We will continue to pull their federal funding until they comply with federal law, because our job is to make America safe again. And I don't know how, Maria, they can quarrel with that.
You also recently formed an internal DOJ team to work with DOJ on the cost-cutting measures. What can you tell us? Because they're going to dig into the nation's top law enforcement divisions, reviewing their internal budget reviews to find savings, right?
Yeah, the massive amounts of money that have been wasted. Truly, we know. I don't think any of us, Elon, couldn't even dream how big the massive amounts of money were that's been taken from your tax dollars, from my tax dollars, and just squandered away to foreign countries all over the world, the USA, the EPA, and they're fighting us on that. They're trying to force us to pay this money out. We're not going to do it. We have teams of lawyers fighting to protect our tax dollars, and we're going to continue to do that. Right. Of course, we're going to lose.
All right. So, you know, exactly what we were talking about, Robert, right? Sanctuary cities, you've had experience with that, right? Explain to people what that means. What does that mean?
Well, normally, if the city government or the government officials in that city, the county, the state that you work in, they allow back then it was a Border Patrol agent or ICE agent to come into your jails every day. They come in, and as an officer, when I was a young officer, we arrested an illegal. It was our discretion. If we arrested somebody with, because Border Patrol would say, listen, we can't deport everybody, we just don't have the money. But if you get somebody with a felony or somebody you think is dangerous, a prior offender, put this code on his booking slip, and when we come in the morning, we're going to go talk to him. After he gets out of jail, he's not getting released, we're deporting him. And it was our discretion. So what happens is that when ICE can now grab these guys at a jail, just go in there, instead of releasing them, where a cop is going to have to go arrest them, or ICE, it's a lot easier to take them into custody while they're still in a custodial setting.
Yeah.
So what happens with the sanctuary cities, they refuse the order, even some that have previously been adjudicated. They have been ordered removed from our country, but a sanctuary city will see that order. They do not obey it. and they will just release these people out the door if they have them in custody. They'll let them go out the door. So then what happens is you have task forces of cops, ICE agents, state police, having to put on that body armor, track these people down, and either stop them while they're driving a car and block them in, or kick in their door and go get them. And whenever you start doing that, the level of danger,
the escalation,
not only for us but for them, for them and any citizens around, they're going to have blood on their hands. I don't know if we've had any officers shot or killed while trying to go out and get somebody that was already in custody. I think I've seen some that have happened, but it's so much easier to send an officer where they already have an inmate handcuffed, take the cuffs off, put them on an airplane and send them away, instead of having to go knock on their door at 6 a.m. and do a tactical entry to go find them. And then, of course, what happens is that once you're in a house, you're going to do an investigation. If you have other illegals in that house, well, you're here, you might as well take them.
Yeah.
And that's what the left is complaining. Well, why? These people didn't have criminal records. Well, they're housing a violent criminal here, and hey, that's the breaks. That's
what Tom said, right? Tom said that a couple of weeks ago. He said, hey, we're going to go pick up these criminal aliens, illegals. But if they happen to be hanging around with 5 other guys or people that happen to be illegal, and they just happen to be there, hey, too bad, wrong place, wrong time, and we'll pick them up too. I mean, they shouldn't be here anyways, right? So we get 5 for the price of 1, and I think a lot of that is probably happening, and those are the cases that you see the media try and portray. Oh, they took this mom and dad and children and whatnot, and it's but realistically they went in there for a criminal guy, right? And just happen to find these other people there. But is law enforcement woke in these sanctuary cities, or is it the politicians?
Some politicians. I like to explain this. When I became a cop, police departments, at least my police department, was still run by the chief of police, who was an old cop.
Yeah.
And he had a good working relationship with the city manager. The city manager in our city was the one that actually was his boss. Not city council, but the city manager was his boss. And I like to explain this to people because I remember back then, a lot of those city managers back in the time I came on were guys that had fought in the wars, went to school, got their GI Bill, and next thing you know, worked their way up the political ladder and became city managers. These guys had real life experience. They had fought in World War II. They had fought in Korea. They had fought in Vietnam.
Yep.
Got educated on the GI Bill or something similar. The city managers today have no experience except they were probably protesting with these idiots that we see right now at Columbia. They go to these Ivy League schools. Here in Phoenix, we get a lot of these officials that kicked all school resource officers out of the city of Phoenix. They didn't want any school resource officers because they said school resource officers were scaring your illegal alien community in the high schools. So they got rid of every single one. He said they were threatening to the illegal alien community and the community of color. And they brought them back. But they were gone for about 4 years. And at the same time, the city of Phoenix, the largest criminal street gang in Phoenix by number, was a gang called Wetback Power. Wetback is a derogatory term of an illegal alien from Mexico primarily.
Yeah.
And in Phoenix, we don't have MS-13. We don't have Tren de Aragua because we don't have a large Venezuelan population.
Right.
We don't have Salvadorans, Guatemaltecos, Nicaraguans.
Yeah, they're all Mexicans,
we don't have
right?
none of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, here is all Mexican.
Yeah.
So the illegal aliens from Mexico were showing up here, and they had their kids, and they formed the largest street gang in the city of Phoenix when I was a gang cop, and they were the most violent, and they were in every single inner city high school, and yet this fool removed every school resource officer. So they, in their gated community, these elitists go to sleep, feeling warm and fuzzy because they felt like they did something. All they're doing is hurting these communities of color, these communities low income, because most parents would want the cops there. The cops are not playing Border Patrol ICE agents into schools. They're there to try and keep peace, and if there's problems, that's what they're there for. But so what happens is these government officials are passing this ideology that they get from this woke mind virus that they pick up at these elitist schools and forcing them down the throat of police departments. And that's what we have now.
But the cops, are they woke?
The cops. No, I don't think, the newer generation, you might have some, that will be woke, but no, the departments are going woke in some instances.
From the top, right?
Up from the top.
Yeah.
People join the police department, especially right now. You get a lot of cops that are coming back, guys that were coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Just like my generation, my training officers were all Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
There were guys that were coming back. My training officer in patrol was a Marine veteran from a combat veteran, Vietnam, and my training officer as a narcotics cop was a Tet Offensive Marine, infantry Marine. So those guys have all, phased out. Right now you got a lot of the leadership that if they unleashed them, they could clean up the cities, because you get a lot of guys with a lot of great experience that are coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, from the war on terror, but this woke policies are holding them back.
That's crazy. By the way, love the badges behind you. I think you have a DEA badge back there, or no?
No, the one on here and the other one are plaques that I got. I ran an anti-kidnapping team in Haiti. So I had a team that I ran, and we did 300 kidnapping investigations.
Shit.
Kidnapping for ransom cases. And going back to the when I was in Haiti, they eat dogs and cats, but out in the region.
Yeah.
The city, it's not very common, but they kill a lot of dogs, cats, goats, ducks, whatever they can for voodoo ceremonies.
Holy shit.
It's part of everyday life, just like Catholicism with a lot of people that come from Latin American countries. Voodoo, Haitian voodoo, is part of everyday culture in Haiti.
That's scary shit.
You find shrines just like in Cuban Santeria. In Palo Mayombe, you find the same thing. In Haiti, we would find, slaughtered dogs, cats, ducks, goats, whatever. Jesus. So I remember when they were talking about that, cats and dogs disappearing. I go, well, they might not be eating them, but they're probably slaughtering them for a voodoo ritual. Yeah,
that's crazy, bro. Robert, you're an encyclopedia of wealth, man. I appreciate you coming on Law Enforcement Fridays. You're an institution, my friend. We've covered a lot, I think. There's so much more to cover. Hopefully, we'll have you on next week as well, and we'll have some more good stuff to talk about, especially some good captures. There's a lot of things happening right now, and we see Christy Nome out there. We see Homan out there. Pam Bondi, we just played a video clip that she's suing the cities. Do you think anybody's going to get arrested? Because Tom has talked about that. He's like, I'm referring all this to DOJ because that's impeding law, right?
Yes, I would like to. I think it would only take one or two people getting arrested, and people are saying, you know what? I don't want to play this game. This game's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Because.
But how does that work? How does that work about impeding the law? What does that mean? How can you arrest somebody on impeding the law?
It's the same thing like when I'm out on the street
and
trying to arrest someone, and someone's trying to interfere with my arrest, after I arrest this person, I go out and grab them, because I can't even think of the word now because what we use, but there's a law that you can't interfere with the lawful operations of a police officer. And the thing, going back to that topic, by these sanctuary cities, I grew up, I'm first generation born in the US, my dad's side, second on my mom's side. I grew up in the barrio. I'm from the hood. And people in those neighborhoods are the ones that suffer more than anybody else, because these criminal aliens do not come to my neighborhood. I made it out. Living the American dream, I made it out. But the neighborhoods that I grew up in, they're the ones that suffer, because those families, a lot of them are,
they're victims, right? They become victims of these criminals, right?
And these criminal alien groups are going to go back into the neighborhood where they can blend in, where they speak the language, and that's who they victimize. And these liberals who think, these leftists, I don't even like calling them liberals, because the liberals are different than these leftists today. They live in their gated communities, and they think they're doing some good, and they're always hurting those who they think they're helping.
Amazing. Robert, it's a pleasure, bro. Always love having you on, man. It's gonna be fun next week. I know there's a lot of shit happening, and especially if with the enactment of this Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Shit isn't hit the fan, man. I think that fuck around and find out is going to be front and center once that thing is enacted. I think. Look, I heard they were going to enact it today. So we're going to keep our eyes open for that. One more thing that I wanted to talk to you about really quick before we turn this out. As you talked about the resource officers in school, I think most parents are not against that. We had Victor Avila. I think Victor, right? He was talking about these 16, 15, 17-year-old kids that are part of cartels or part of street gangs that are in school and pushing dope and drugs and meth and crack and cocaine and all that. And, the resource officer is not there necessarily to, because we're expecting mass shootings in these schools, is because there is crime in schools every day. And it's also a recruitment farm, right? Tell us a little bit about that before we break off.
Absolutely. I was a gang cop with Phoenix PD. There was a high school that my older brother went to. I mean, not high school, it was a junior high.
Okay.
I didn't go to that school because we moved. But that junior high is so filled with gangsters. They had 2 full-time school resource officers assigned there every day. It was a junior high school.
Wow.
So 2 Phoenix cops in uniform were there every single day. And they had a third position that was a rotating gang detective. Sometimes I would work it on my days off, on overtime, because they wanted a gang detective, and they also had their juvenile probation officer on campus every day.
Wow.
That's how many thugs were in that school.
Holy shit.
And
so it's real, man. It's real. It's not bullshit.
It was real. And I was a gang cop, and I was there just gathering intel. Hey, look at the West Side homies. There's West Side Finiquera. There's Wetback Power over here. There's a black gang. It was overload when I was working there, and we would have drive-by shootings in the parking lot after school would let out. We had a couple of drive-bys in the parking lot.
Wow.
But we weren't there for the mass shooter, really. We were there there was so much violence at that school because the gangs, there was probably 5 or 6 gangs in that junior high that had 3 school resource officers assigned there all the time with a juvenile probation officer.
Right, and junior high doesn't exist today. So for all you millennials and Zs and who knows what else and woke, junior high when we went to school was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, right? And they fucked it up. I don't know. They did this middle school shit, but junior high, you're still talking about, dude, young kids, right?
Yeah, that was back when they didn't have tampons in the men's room.
That's right.
Boys' restroom either.
That's right.
That was a long time ago.
That's exactly right. Hey, Robert, man, enjoy your weekend. Thanks for coming on board, man. You're a fucking stud, man. I appreciate you.
You as well.
All right, take care, bud.
Great weekend.
Likewise. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed it. Law Enforcement Friday. It was a kick-ass show. Robert, as usual, just an encyclopedia. Been there, done that. Has worked with all the agencies, been a cop, been a detective, done narcotics, done gangs, done it all. It's always good to hear it from somebody that's been on the ground and is not storytelling or coming up with stories or relating, telling you something that they heard. This is real life shit. This is real. That's why, when people say, dude, we do need law enforcement in schools. He just gave you a prime example why. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. We have a fucking packed schedule. And read up on the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that, in the weeks and the months and the years to come. Take care.